the Vikings so far in the 2020s have been so very extreme with their seasons. After 7-9 2020, they went 8-9 2021, 13-4 2022, 7-10 in 2023, and now 14-3 in 2024. But in the middle of that was 2021 and 2022, where the Vikings had like one of the strangest moments ever. So we start off in 2021. The Vikings, of course, were 8-9, yet almost all their games and almost all their losses too were close games. So they were so close but just couldn't pull the trigger, and they got like half their wins instead. Meanwhile, in 2022, the Vikings reversed that. They had almost all their games were close, but they were winning almost every one of them. But then when they lost in blowouts, which made them the first and only team in NFL history to have 13 wins and still have a point differential worse than they scored, which is unbelievable. So, I side, how about we go to the extreme lengths on each one of those seasons in this video. So here we go. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if? An NFL theory. So, let's get to this extreme situation, shall we? So we're going to start off in 2021 talking about this. As the Vikings that year were 8-9, yet they had so many close losses and a bunch of close wins too, for that matter. Like, everything could have potentially been better for them. So, how better would it be for them? What if the Vikings won all of their close games that they lost within 8 points? What would their record be? They would win every game but one. That's right. The Vikings in a scenario, instead of going 8-9, they would have gone 16-1, which would be the best record in a 17-game schedule. In fact, they would have gone all the way to 15-0 before they would get destroyed by the Packers on the second to last Sunday night game of the year. Like, that's how close we're talking. They could have been 16-1. Gee, it kind of reminds you of the 2015 Ravens I just covered. But that's not all. There's also another extreme too. The next year, in 2022, where almost all the Vikings games were close, except when they lost. Every single loss was by more than 8 points, and 3 of those losses were just complete and utter blowouts. Like, let's see, what was it, like 27-10 to the Eagles, 40-6 to the Cowboys, like, was it like 40-something to 6 or whatever for the Packers? Yeah, just completely ugly losses. And that's why the 22 Vikings, no one took them seriously. They had a negative point differential, and then they went on to lose to the Giants in the wild card round. But in this scenario, what if the 2022 Vikings lost all of their close games? What would happen? Well, if they lost every close game they had, instead of going 13-4, they would have gone 2-15. My goodness. So, on the one extreme, you had the 2021 Vikings potentially going from 8-9 to all the way up to 16-1. And then the 2022 Vikings, they could have gone 13-4. I mean, they went 13-4, but they could have gone 2-15. What an extreme situation this is with the Vikings. It's not trustable. It shows 2021 was a fluke, and 2022 kind of also was a fluke too, and they just got lucky and only got half their wins. Oh man, it is just wild. But let's see what happened. How would the 2021 and 2022 seasons go if this happened? What if the Vikings did go 16-1 in 2021 and 2-15 in 2022? We're about to find out. So first off, let's get to 2021. So now here is the updated 2021 standings, with the Vikings going all the way to 16-1. Of course, the teams that they beat would have been the Bengals, the Ravens, no, they lost to the Chargers, the Cowboys, the Lions the one time, because remember they gave the Lions their only win that year, the Rams, the Cardinals, and the 49ers. And I think they beat another team, but it's just not coming to my head. But either way, they went 16-1. And how would that affect everything? Well, in the AFC, the Steelers now win the AFC North as the 4th seed. the Raiders stay the 5th seed, Patriots stay 6th seed, but the Bengals fall all the way down to the 7th seed. So Steelers and Bengals swap places. Meanwhile, in the NFC, the Vikings now win the NFC North, and they're the number 1 seed, as the Packers fall all the way down to the 5th seed. The Cardinals fall to the 6th seed, and the 49ers are eliminated from the playoffs completely. So now, how would the playoffs go? So the wild card starts off with the Raiders visiting the Steelers, a rematch from Week 2. I think it would be a back and forth game, but I think the Steelers in the end would get the revenge from Week 2 and get the win this time around. Then after that, they would have to visit the Bills. And I think even though the Steelers did beat the Bills early in the year, I think with the way the Bills played against the Chiefs in that division round, I think the Bills would easily get revenge. And now the AFC Championship would be the Bengals at the Bills. As, oh boy, this game would be interesting. But the one reason, too, remember that the Bengals did beat the Chiefs is that Mahomes completely imploded in the second half. But Allen in the 2021 playoffs was probably one of the best quarterback performances in the playoffs. He threw, I think, like 8 touchdowns and no picks, and that was in just 2 games. Absolutely insane. And I think that momentum would continue as they beat the Bengals. Then after that, we go back to the NFC as the Rams now visit the Vikings. And, of course, there'll be a rematch from Week 16, I believe it was, and the Rams beat the Vikings in one of those close games that this time around the Vikings would win. But now we're playing in a rematch, and I don't fully trust the Vikings to really get this one, so I think the Rams in the rematch will get it. After ending the Vikings season, and of course the Cowboys beating the Buccaneers, the NFC Championship is now the Rams at the Cowboys. And what an interesting game this would be. I think it'll go back and forth, but I trust the Cowboys to get it, and they will get the win. And the Super Bowl is now the Cowboys and Bills in SoFi Stadium, as it would be a very interesting game. It'll probably be very high scoring, too, since both had like 2 of the elite offenses of 2021. But the Bills had, I think, one of the best defense in the league as well. The Cowboys not so much. So I think the Bills in the end will get the victory. So this is 2021. But what about 2022? What if instead the Vikings lost all their close games in 2022? Well, here is the results for that. So in this 2022 stands, the Vikings of course go 2-15. And this helps out a lot of teams in the AFC thanks to beating the Vikings this time. The Bills win and they get the number 1 seed over the Chiefs as they fall to the number 2 seed. And nothing. Oh, the Dolphins also move up to get the 6th seed as the Ravens fall to the 7th seed. Meanwhile, in the NFC, the Lions now win the division instead as they're the 3rd seed. And the Commanders now make the playoffs as the 7th seed. So, now let's get to the rest of the playoffs. The Dolphins now have to visit the Bengals instead of the Ravens visiting them. And remember, the Dolphins put up a really good fight against the Bills without Tua. They would probably put up a good fight for the Bengals, but I think in the end the Bengals still would win. And instead of visiting the Bengals, the Ravens have to visit the Chiefs now instead. And once again, I think it would be a hard-fought game, even though Lamar wouldn't be playing. And I think the Chiefs in the end would still hold on to get the win. And after taking care of the Chargers, the Jaguars have to go to the number 1 seed Bills instead. And this was a tough one because remember, the Bills played horrible in the divisional round in real life. But of course, that was against the Bengals. This time it's against the Jaguars. So and I thought about it and I decided I had to go with my gut and instead pick the Bills to get this win instead. So now the AFC Championship is the Chiefs at the Bills. As these two would go back and forth once again. It'd probably be another high-scoring game, but just like I always do when I see the Bills and Chiefs play each other over the last few years, I trust the Bills over the Chiefs, and I think that'll show up here as the Bills would go back to the Super Bowl after beating the Chiefs. So now the Super Bowl is the Bills and the Eagles. As, oh boy, we saw what happened when the Eagles and Chiefs play each other. Now they have to go up against another elite offense as well in the Bills. I think the game pretty much will go exactly the same, high scoring and such, but this time around, I don't know if Allen would do enough to do what Mahomes did, because Mahomes really had to cook in order to beat the Eagles in that game, because that was so high scoring. So this time around, I think the Eagles would hold on to win it. And yeah, that's what happened if the Vikings went 16-1 in 2021 and 2-15 in 2022. But hey, it's just a theory, an NFL theory. Thanks for watching. As I continue with getting these very short theories done soon, see you all next time for the next one.